Hello and welcome. Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up in the next hour, India releases first tranche of USD 2.5 million to the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees as part of its annual contribution of $5 million for the year 2024-25. India's total exports estimated to grow at 5.4% in June 2024. Cumulative overall exports during April-June 2024 estimated to grow at 8.6%. Another legal victory for Donald Trump. A US judge dismisses criminal case accusing Trump of illegally holding onto classified documents. And Pakistan to ban former Prime Minister Imran Khan's political party, also to move the country's top court to press treason charges against him. But first up, former US President Donald Trump is set to officially become the GOP nominee for president at this week's Republican National Convention, days after surviving an assassination attempt. The four-day event kicks off on Monday. The convention is featuring televised speeches by rising Republican stars and Trump's choice for a yet-to-be-announced vice presidential running mate, while highlighting the party's stance on such topics as abortion, immigration and the economy. About 2,400 delegates from around the country have come together to officially nominate Donald Trump during a roll call vote on Monday. Meanwhile, the U.S. Secret Service on Monday expressed confidence in its security plan for the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee this week following an assassination attempt on Donald Trump at a campaign rally over the weekend. A U.S. judge in Florida on Monday dismissed the criminal case accusing Donald Trump of illegally holding onto classified documents after leaving office. It's another major victory for the Republican former president as he seeks to return to the White House. In the documents case, Trump was indicted on charges that he willfully retained sensitive national security documents at his Mar-a-Lago estate after leaving office in 2021 and obstructed government efforts to retrieve the materials. And U.S. President Joe Biden will receive the official nomination from fellow Democrats for a second term in a virtual vote as planned in late July as well. Biden will be nominated weeks before his party gathers for its Democratic National Convention in Chicago on the 19th of next month. Biden is under continued pressure from some lawmakers, donors and activists to drop his re-election campaign in the wake of his presidential debate performance. He, however, insists that he is not going anywhere and says he's best equipped to beat Donald Trump. Details of the early nominating process are unclear as of now. Now, the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigations, or the FBI, has said former President Donald Trump's would-be assassin appeared to have acted alone in the Pennsylvania shooting, although no motive has been found yet for his rooftop assault. Some more details have come out about Thomas Matthew Crooks, suggesting he was a loner and a bad shot in school, while the incident has had a sobering impact on both the Democratic and Republican presidential campaigns. Take a look.
The viral image of Donald Trump pumping his fist in the air with a bloodied face soon after being clipped by a whizzing bullet on his right ear quickly got emblazoned on T-shirts. Factory owners cashed in on the shock and awe of the moment in China's Guangdong province to hawk the T-shirts online with price tags ranging from $9 to $40 US. Within hours of Saturday's shooting, Biden's campaign pulled down TV ads and suspended other political communications. Democrats also dropped campaign threads highlighting Trump's May felony conviction in the hush money case. Biden himself called for unity and asked Americans to let the FBI do their job and to cool it down.
I urge everyone, please, don't make assumptions about his motives or his affiliations. Let the FBI do their job. and their partner agencies do their job. I've directed an independent review of the national security at yesterday's rally to assess exactly what happened, and we'll share the results of that independent review with the American people as well. We must unite as one nation to demonstrate who we are.
Biden's Republican rival, Donald Trump, also signaled that he will not be engaging in aggressive political statements and instead focus on calm and unity. He told the Washington Examiner that this is a chance to bring the whole country, even the whole world, together. Focus also remained on Monday on the investigation into Trump's would-be assassin 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks. Images of his past were dug up by news agencies and media outlets, including his 2022 high school graduation ceremony from Pennsylvania's Bethel Park High School. He received a $500 Star Award from the National Math and Science Initiative, but reports citing accounts of his classmates and those who knew him also said that he was bullied at school, was a loner, and even failed to join the school shooting team as he was a bad shot. As media teams remained parked outside Crooks' Bethel Park home, the FBI reportedly said that he acted alone, although it is yet to find any clue about his motive for attempting to gun Trump down. He was a registered Republican, but also donated $15 to a Democratic Political Action Committee when he was 17. At the time of the shooting, he was employed as a dietary aide at the Bethel Park Skilled Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, which said Crooks' background check was clean. Monday also saw the U.S. Secret Service, which protects the incumbent and all former U.S. heads of state, saying it would participate fully in probes announced by President Biden and members of the Congress after its agents failed to prevent a gunman from shooting and injuring former President Donald Trump over the weekend. In her first major statement since the shooting, which killed a rally attendee, Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatle said the agency was increasing security for Republican presidential candidate Trump and the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, which kicks off on Monday. Bureau Report, DD India.
And for more on all the developments to the Trump shooting and all the political recoil and ramifications it's caused, let's take you to Washington, D.C. with DD India's Benji Haya. Good evening to you from Delhi, Benji. Before I ask you about what's happened with the shooting and Trump, let me also ask you about the case in Florida. How is the classified documents case been dismissed, and what does it really mean for the road ahead as far as the presidential contest is concerned?
Well, the breaking news never stops, does it, in the United States of America? We've had Donald Trump's attempted assassination, the start now of the Republican National Convention, which we'll talk about, and then also, in past hours, this news coming from Florida that one of the criminal cases, the trials that Donald Trump faces as he vies for the Oval Office again, the alleged mishandling of classified documents, that has now been dropped by a Trump-appointed judge in the state of Florida. She says it is because of the appointment of special counsel Jack Smith, who'd been prosecuting Donald Trump in this case. She says that violated the Constitution. This was perhaps one of the most significant trials that Donald Trump had faced out of the four, in the sense that it was the most likely to possibly land him a jail sentence. The alleged crime that he took classified documents from the White House and stored them in his Mar-a-Lago residence in Florida. He, of course, has pleaded not guilty to those counts. It was postponed, this trial, along with another one in Georgia related to his alleged attempts to overturn the 2020 election results. That is the centre of a different trial in Washington, D.C., which has also been postponed off the back of the Supreme Court ruling in past weeks that gives President Trump some immunity when it comes to his official acts as president. And so this is a remarkable win for Donald Trump off the back of what has been a remarkable 48 hours for the former president. And he has hailed this news, and it will continue to help him pave the way back to the White House.
Yes, dramatic to say the least. Now, the tone and tenor of the campaigns on both the sides seems to have flipped from combat to conciliation of sorts. But will that hold through the RNC as well, where Donald Trump will not only formally accept his nomination with a rousing speech, perhaps, and a lot has been speculated about what kind of speech, but also announce his running mate?
It's difficult to speculate about the speech because, according to Donald Trump himself, he's actually rewritten it in light of his attempted assassination. He was expected, of course, to use that speech to hammer home his message, to bring the fight to his supporters, and he may still try and strike that tone, brand himself as a defiant survivor, say that his opponents tried to get him at the ballot box, get him at the courts now with the barrel of a gun, and yet he survived all of those challenges. And I guess the entire mantra that Donald Trump's been using throughout this campaign, that the political opponents of Donald Trump and his allies, are coming for you, the American voters, and I, Donald Trump, am the one standing in the way. That is a message that could certainly resonate, especially following the incident where he literally took a bullet, or at least it grazed his ear, and others at that rally, one died and others were left injured. But it is also possible that, especially from what we've seen in terms of the rhetoric from the statements he's made since that incident, that he will take more of a tone to try to unite the nation. That speech coming up this week, probably after he announces his vice presidential pick. The real names in contention include Florida Senator Marco Rubio, also North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, and Ohio Senator J.D. Vance. Interestingly, Mr. Vance, the last of those that I named, was amongst those to come out and put the blame on the Biden campaign for this attempted assassination, claiming that the rhetoric that we've heard from the president in relation to Donald Trump, quote, led directly to the scenes that we saw in Pennsylvania over the weekend.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's see what Trump does. Maybe he'll try and pivot to appeal, to make himself more appealing to fence-sitters. Now, what's happening in the Democrat camp now? Because before the attempted assassination, there was a rising clamor for Joe Biden to withdraw from the fight. Now, does it still hang in the air, or is it all history now?
Well, this has been the focus of many of the political eyes in the past couple of weeks in Washington, D.C. What's going to happen with the Biden campaign? I think that much of that is now going to be put on pause, frankly, which means that at least one byproduct of what we've seen is that Joe Biden's position will remain more solid than it was. His campaign actually paused its online activities and advertising following the Trump shooting. It will resume again on Monday, but I think that those challenges to try to take away the candidacy from Joe Biden will continue to be paused, and frankly many within the Democrat Party will be worrying more about their safety of their candidates than potentially any sort of political woes that they might experience. There are also questions about how the Biden campaign proceeds now. One of the main talking points has been framing Donald Trump as a threat to democracy. Biden's own words saying that Donald Trump should be put in a bullseye. I'm not sure the public will take kindly to that message, and there might be more hostility now towards direct criticism towards Donald Trump. There is also an overall message from President Joe Biden, which was espoused in an address from the Oval Office last night, a message of unity, trying to bring the country together, saying that it's important to try to bridge those differences and resolve those differences at the ballot box, not via bullets. And this is going to be a very difficult challenge for Joe Biden to try to seek unity in this very fractured nation and try to avoid the bloodshed descending into a cycle of vengeance going forward.
Well, let's see what kind of reciprocity does that evoke from Donald Trump, because we're still to hear from him publicly, really, on that front. He's given interviews and he's made all kinds of utterances about what may come in the RNC, but we'll have to actually hear it to know what's going to be there. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Benji. Still to come on DD India News Hour. In France, left-wing parties still plan to form a joint government despite challenges in coming together. Ukraine's Zelensky says he aims to be ready for a second peace summit in November. And KP Sharma Oli is sworn in as Nepal's Prime Minister for the fourth time. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, Pakistan's security forces foiled a terrorist attack on a military facility in Bannu, northwest of the country on Monday morning. Pakistan has witnessed an uptick in terror activities in the past year or so, especially in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan, after the band Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan ended its ceasefire with the government in November 2022. Meanwhile, in another development, Pakistan's government has banned Imran Khan's political party, the Tehreek-e-Insaf, giving a strong blow to the jailed leader. Here's a detailed report on the socio-political crisis Pakistan's facing.
At a time when Pakistan is already battling political and economic crisis, the rising terror attacks are becoming the biggest threat for the country. Plumes of black smoke, broken windows of buildings, and fragments of shattered glass on street. It's the scene of the terrorist attack on a military facility in Bannu, northwest Pakistan on Monday morning. Radio Pakistan and Pakistan Television Corporation reported that several armed insurgents attempted to enter the cantonment by detonating an explosive-laden vehicle near the outer wall of the facility.
When we woke up for our morning prayers, we heard sounds of an explosion, but did not know what was happening. However, when we came to town, we heard gunshots going off in the cantonment. There were sounds of explosions and smoke was rising.
Pakistan's security forces foiled this terrorist attack. However, so far Pakistan's government has not reacted to this attack. Pakistan has witnessed an uptick in terror activities in the past year, especially in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan, after the banned Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan ended its ceasefire with the government in November 2022. According to an annual security report issued by the Center for Research and Security Studies, these provinces bordering Afghanistan accounted for nearly 92% of all fatalities and 87% of attacks during the second quarter of 2024. During this period, Pakistan witnessed 380 violence-linked fatalities and 220 injuries. Pakistan saw 1,524 violence-related fatalities and 1,463 injuries from 789 terror attacks and counter-terror operations in 2023, marking a record 6-year high. In yet another major development, the Pakistan government has announced its decision to ban the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party led by jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan, citing alleged involvement in anti-state activities.
Keeping in view all the evidence and other things, the federal government will move to ban, we are going to ban Tehreek-e-Insaf.
Pakistan's Information Minister Tarar said that the decision to ban PTI was based on the party's alleged involvement in a series of incidents deemed detrimental to the state. He added that in view of the foreign funding case, the May 9 riots and the Cypher episode, the resolution passed by the US, Pakistan government believes that there is very credible evidence to ban the PTI. Responding to the ban, the PTI took to social media platform X and urged the government to not shake the foundations of Pakistan. Bureau Report, DD India.
In France, the head of the Socialist Party, Olivier Faure, has said that the left-wing parties still plan to form a joint government after they emerged as the strongest bloc in parliament in the snap election, but any pact is unlikely to come this week. The New Popular Front, or the NPF, has hastily assembled an alliance ranging from socialists and Greens to the Communist Party and the hard left, Eurosceptic, Unbowed France. They all won the parliamentary election earlier this month but fell well short of a majority. Faure's comments, coming after a week of fruitless talks within the bloc, marked a shift in tone. Following their surprise election win on the 7th of this month, Faure and other leaders said they were prepared to form a government and would come up with a name for the Prime Minister's seat within days. However, no progress has been made ever since. And DD India's Ross Cullen joins us from Paris for more on this. Good evening to you from Delhi. Ross, what has been holding up the coalition government formation so far? Is it about ideology, or is it more about how will the cake of power be divvied up and who will become Prime Minister?
Well, it's more about the fact that it's a hung parliament. The snap election result on the 7th of July showed that there was no clear majority, no one party forming a majority, no one party the clear winner. The New Popular Front, the leftist bloc, certainly the biggest in parliament, but they're well short of a majority of seats, and so there is going to have to be likely something that we do see in Germany a lot, that we rarely see in France, a coalition, a government, potentially one bringing together some of the big blocs from different sides of the aisle, centre-left, centrists, centre-right potentially. We do know that the centre-left believe that certainly they should be the ones providing the Prime Minister when the government does eventually resign. We know that Emmanuel Macron's Prime Minister, current incumbent of the post, Gabriel Attal, has submitted his letter of resignation. Emmanuel Macron did not accept that. However, all eyes will now be on Tuesday, because that is when we will get an update. That's when the cabinet meeting will be held. So in the morning local time here in France, Emmanuel Macron will chair that cabinet meeting, and there should be more updates on the formation of the government after that.
All right. And what sort of a difference would the centre-left coalition make to how France is governed and does business with the rest of the world, particularly the European Union?
Well, they have said that they would like to repeal Emmanuel Macron's pension reforms, those contentious changes raising the retirement age to 64 that came into force last year. The Socialist Party and their left-wing allies would like to bring that back from 64 all the way back to 60, a level it's not been at since 2007 when Nicolas Sarkozy came to power. They say they would pay for that with a wealth tax on the rich, with a windfall tax on big business, and also that would allow them to raise the minimum wage. They would like to bring in those economic policies. They say they're happy to join a coalition as long as their manifesto is the primary manifesto from which policies are selected. They would not like to see any other manifesto in play. So they would also like to show that they have the economic heft to be able to drive those changes that they say that France needs. However, it's going to be hard if you have a president from the centre and a prime minister from the left, and the president has driven through these certain reforms that the left would then like to undo, and so we could potentially see a lot of difficulty in that power sharing between the president and the prime minister, coming from different parties, coming from different ideologies with different views on the next few years. Emmanuel Macron still has 3 years left on his mandate as president of France, and he could be spending that with a politician, with a prime minister from a different party. So we have yet to hear from the left-wing coalition who they would like to be Prime Minister. They haven't been able to agree. There are 4 different parties under one umbrella. That worked for the snap election. It hasn't worked since then because they have all provided different opinions for different leaders they say should be Prime Minister. They can't agree on who should step aside and who should stay in the race. But all eyes really are on the left to see if they can come up with an agreement on who they think the Prime Minister should be, and if Emmanuel Macron will accept Gabriel Attal's resignation and then install that left-wing Prime Minister in the Hôtel de Matignon, which is the PM's office.
But does he have an option not to? Did you hear that? I'm just asking, does he have an option not to? I don't think...
you have to ask that again. Does who have an option not to do what? Sorry?
Macron to not still not accept the resignation and not appoint a new Prime Minister.
There has to be a Prime Minister, and there currently is a Prime Minister because Emmanuel Macron did not accept Gabriel Attal's resignation, which he submitted the very next day after the snap election. He submitted that letter on the 8th, and Emmanuel Macron said, for now we need stability. For now you stay in post. For now I'm not accepting that resignation letter. However, we have had some indications that he might accept the letter on Tuesday, and then we would see a new Prime Minister appointed. An overwhelming favourite would be somebody from the left, but the left still haven't decided on who that should be.
Okay, well, Tuesday then it is. That will be a day when we'll get to know what's happening next. Thanks a lot for the moment, Ross. Now, India's economy, which grew at 8.2% in the financial year 2023-24, is also seeing significant growth in the external sector. Electronic goods exports increased by 16.91% in June, and coffee exports were up 70%. several rating agencies have revised their India forecasts upwards while downgrading China. China has been struggling to meet its growth target of 5%. This report gets us more.
India, with a population surpassing 1.4 billion, features a youthful workforce that positions itself ahead of other major economies. Its banks maintain strength, and despite navigating a challenging pandemic, the government's finances remain stable. Now let's examine some of the latest figures highlighting India's strong economy, demonstrated by robust export numbers. The Indian exports are expected to grow at 5.4% in June 2024. Merchandise exports registered positive growth of 2.55% at USD 35.20 billion in June 2024 as compared to June 2023. Non-petroleum and non-gems and jewelry exports registered an increase of 8.48% at USD 27.43 billion in June 2024 as compared to June 2023. Major drivers of merchandise exports growth include electronic goods, drugs and pharmaceuticals. Electronic goods exports increased by 16.91% from USD 2.42 billion in June 2023 to USD 2.82 billion in June 2024. Drugs and pharmaceutical exports increased by 9.93% from USD 2.25 billion in June 2023 to USD 2.47 billion in June 2024. And coffee exports increased by 70.02% from USD 0.12 billion in June 2023 to USD 0.20 billion in June 2024. Considering India's rapid economic growth, international financial institutions have revised their estimates for the Indian economy. Let's take a look at some of the revised estimates. Moody's expects India to be the fastest growing economy among the G20 nations in 2024. Moody's has revised India's growth projection from 6.6% to 8% for the current year. Goldman Sachs has raised India's 2024 growth projections to 6.6%. S&P revised India's 2024 growth projections from 6.4% to 6.8%. Morgan Stanley revised India's growth projection from 6.1% to 6.8%. On the other hand, China's economy is declining. China, once an Asian powerhouse, has seen a substantial slowdown in its growth. China's target of achieving nearly 5% economic growth for 2024 has raised eyebrows of analysts, including the chief economist for Greater China at ING, Lin Song, who said, and I quote, "Overall, the disappointing GDP data shows that the road to hitting the 5% growth target remains challenging." At the core of this conundrum is the years-long property crisis, which deepened in June as new home prices fell at the fastest pace in 9 years, harming consumer confidence and further limiting debt-laden local governments from raising funds through land sales. Bureau Report, DD India.
The 10th Pacific Island Leaders Meeting, or popularly known as Palm 10, will be held in Tokyo from the 16th of this month till the 18th. Representatives from the 18 Pacific Island Forum members in Japan will attend this meeting. The three-day summit in Tokyo aims to discuss cooperation in dealing with regional issues ranging from climate change-related development assistance to collaboration on human resources to maintaining security in the region. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, this is the first face-to-face Palm meeting to be held in 6 years. Japan has been holding it for 27 years since the first Palm in 1997. This year's summit comes as some of the world's major economies, including US and China, seek more engagement with the Pacific Islands amid the region's growing geopolitical importance. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said on Monday that he had set a goal to have all the elements of a peace plan ready so he could hold a follow-up summit on his vision for peace in November. Zelensky also said he believed representatives of Russia should be present at the second summit. Ukraine held a first summit in Switzerland last month that was attended by representatives of 92 countries, but not Russia. Rwandans are polling on Monday for a presidential election, and while official results are not expected until Saturday, President Paul Kagame looks set to secure a fourth term against two opposition candidates who were cleared to run against him. Here's more in this report.
Around 9.5 million Rwandans voted on Monday to elect their next president. Polling centers opened at 7 a.m. local time. 66-year-old incumbent Paul Kagame, who has ruled the Central African country for nearly a quarter of a century, is expected to cruise to victory. Kagame, who led a rebel force that captured power after ending the genocide in 1994, has been president since 2000. He's running against two other candidates, Frank Habineza and Philip Paimana, who also challenged him in the last polls in 2017. Kagame won nearly 99% of the vote in the 2017 polls, which followed a constitutional change removing term limits that would have prevented him from standing again. He also won acclaim for transforming Rwanda into a thriving economy, but has also faced criticism from rights activists and Western nations for stifling opposition and backing rebel groups in the neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo. Rwanda's government has denied all the accusation against it, and while campaigning, Kagame promised continued development and stability. Rwanda struck a migration deal in 2022 with the UK to receive thousands of asylum seekers. Britain's new government has said it would scrap the deal. With high chances of President Kagame being in power again, the provincial results are expected on July the 20th. Bureau Report, DD India.
KP Sharma Oli has taken oath as Prime Minister along with 21 ministers joining the cabinet from 4 parties in the freshly brewed alliance. Sharma was appointed Nepal's Prime Minister for a 4th term on Sunday to lead a new coalition government. First elected as Prime Minister in 2015, Oli was re-elected in 2018 and then reappointed briefly in 2021. Let's get you updates on rain and flood situation across India. The flood situation in Assam is improving, although the Brahmaputra river continues to flow above the danger mark, inundating certain areas. In India's financial capital, Mumbai, and its neighbouring regions, waterlogging remains a significant issue due to relentless rainfall. DD India's Mihir Maikuri gets us the latest on the monsoon fury.
After heavy rainfall, life has been severely disrupted by floods in multiple parts of the Indian states of Assam and Uttar Pradesh. Rivers have swollen beyond their banks due to the incessant rain. In response, millions of people have been evacuated to safe locations. India's Home Minister Amit Shah held telephonic conversations with the Chief Ministers of Assam, Uttar Pradesh and Gujarat and assured them of possible assistance from the central government in all the 3 states. The flood situation in India's northeastern state of Assam is showing signs of improvement in some areas, yet several regions remained submerged. Floods have affected over 600,000 people across 18 districts of the state. Persistent rainfall has caused the Brahmaputra river at Nimati Ghat, Tezpur and Dhubri to rise above danger levels. Kachhar district in Assam is experiencing the most severe impact from the floods. Meanwhile, the death toll due to the floods in Assam has reached 90, with more than 58,000 people still seeking shelter in over 172 relief camps. Heavy rainfall in India's financial capital, Mumbai, on Monday exacerbated hardships for residents. The Met Office issued a yellow alert for the city, a red alert for Ratnagiri and orange alerts for Satara and Pune. In Maharashtra's Raigad and Ratnagiri districts, heavy rain caused several rivers to overflow, exceeding danger levels. As a result of the downpour, Konkan Railway has cancelled multiple trains due to soil erosion and rerouted long-distance train services. In Uttar Pradesh, water levels of multiple rivers have surged due to ongoing rainfall in the eastern and central parts of the state. Nearly 1.8 million people in over 900 villages across the state are grappling with floods. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has directed officials to ensure comprehensive assistance for those affected by floods.
काफ़ी सारे गांव जो हैं वो बाढ़ की से एडवर्सली प्रभावित हुए और उसमें विशेष रूप से अब ये एक अच्छी बात है कि अभी तो हम लोग मतलब बाढ़ का जो पानी है वो रिट्रीट हो रहा है, लेकिन इसमें जितने विभाग हैं उनको अभी और कार्रवाइयाँ करने की आवश्यकता है.
Heavy rainfall in Nepal has led to a flood threat in multiple districts of Bihar. Floodwaters have inundated hundreds of homes in low-lying areas of Motihari, Sitamarhi, Madhubani, Purnia and Muzaffarpur, severely disrupting daily life. Despite a decrease in the water levels of the Gandak River in Gopalganj, the challenges faced by affected communities remain unabated. Mihir Makuri's report for DD India.
The United Kingdom's new Foreign Minister David Lammy met with the family of deceased hostage on Monday during his trip to Israel and Palestinian territories. Lammy also met with Israel's President Isaac Herzog and emphasized his commitment to using diplomatic channels to help Israel with the release of hostages. Lammy's Labour Party, elected in a landslide earlier this month, despite setbacks in areas with large Muslim populations amid discontent over its position on Gaza, has said long-term peace and security in the Middle East would be an immediate focus. It has committed to recognize the Palestinian state as a contribution to a renewed peace process which results in a two-state solution.
We see a hostage deal emerge in the coming days, and I am using all diplomatic efforts. Indeed, last week with the G7 nations, and particularly with Tony Blinken, pressing for that hostage deal. And I hope too that we see a ceasefire soon and we bring an alleviation to the suffering.
Let me take you back now to our top story, which is all about Donald Trump, be it the dismissal of a case against Tim Lee, which was related to classified documents that he had stashed in Mar-a-Lago, his resort, by a judge who had been appointed by him when he was president, or for all the developments that have taken place ever since he was shot at by a would-be assassin at a rally over the weekend, but miraculously he escaped with just bit of a getting hurt in the ear and a bloody face with that fist punching up. That seems to be sending out a very resounding message of defiance and fighting as far as the voters of the US are concerned, and that's the kind of appeal that he could be making in the Republican National Convention as well, which is getting underway a little later today till about Thursday, when he actually makes a speech, accepts the nomination, and in the meantime, at some point, he will also announce his running mate. Meera Shankar, former Indian ambassador to the US, is joining us to talk about it. Good evening to you. Meera Shankar, what do you make of all that has happened? It's just too much that has happened in the last few days, and perhaps the American people, the voting populace of America, is still processing it.
Yes. I think the important thing is that President Trump is safe. Secondly, that we have to await the results of the investigation to know actually what transpired in terms of the motivation of the individual concerned. What we do know is that he was 20 years old, a registered Republican, so was his father a registered Republican, his mother was a registered Democrat. Some of his school friends have said that he was a not friends, but school colleagues have said that he was a loner and was bullied in school. Others have disagreed with this view. So we don't really know what motivated him, whether it was a lone wolf attack or part of something larger. We have to await the outcome of the investigation. And of course, this attempt shows how polarized political opinions in the US have become, that there can be a resort to violence during the campaign. President Biden has addressed the nation and made an effort to lower the temperature by calling for all Americans to come together and emphasizing that there can be no place for violence in a democracy, and that differences of opinion have to be settled through the ballot box, and that politics cannot be a battlefield, much less a killing field. On the other side, former President Trump has also said that he is redrafting his speech for the Republican convention, whereas earlier he was intending to attack Joe Biden's policies. He says he now wants to make an appeal for Americans to come together and for unity. So let's see what he says. Hopefully, there will be some lowering of temperature and political rhetoric. We've seen that the Democrats have pulled back all the negative campaigning, ad campaigns against Trump. Will the Republicans do the same? I think that's something we have to wait and see. And for how long this effort to reduce temperatures lasts is also something that has to be seen. But clearly, this puts Trump in an advantageous position because there will be sympathy and support for him as a result of this assassination attempt.
Do you feel that there is a lot of changes that he might make to make himself more appealing to fence-sitters in terms of the kind of tone and tenor he's had and the issues that he's raked up? Because now, of course, a lot of people are expecting to hear something different from him on the issue of gun control as well.
Yes, but I am not very sure that the Republicans will change their traditional position on gun control. The National Rifle Association has close links with the Republican Party, and there is, a belief that it is part of American culture to, for a person to have a gun and be responsible for his own security. And perhaps this has to do with a settler culture, with pioneers moving westwards, where there was no organized law
and order,
no organized institutional governance. And so, each person really provided security for his own family. So there is this belief, that there should be a right to have a gun. President Biden had made efforts to introduce some controls and restrictions on access to lethal weapons, particularly assault weapons, but these did not go through because of Republican opposition. And it really would be desirable for some kind of controls to kick in, because America has seen such a spate of incidents of random gun violence in which innocent school children, innocent bystanders have been killed in large numbers.
That's happened here as well in this case when Donald Trump was assaulted. But what about Joe Biden and the Democrats now? Because before this happened, the shooting happened, there was a rising sort of a clamor for people within the Democratic Party saying that Joe Biden should withdraw from the contest because of the age factor and other reasons. But what will its fate be now?
Well, we really don't know. The Democratic Party was in a state of confusion because there were growing concerns about President Biden's age and his ability to really handle the stresses and strains of such a high office for another 4 years, and also to put up a coherent and good fight in the campaign after his presidential debate, where he was seen as having a lackluster performance. But equally, while there were Democrats asking for Biden to step down, there were others who were supporting him, including the Black Caucus, several of the governors whom he met. So it was a confused picture. And the fact is that President Biden had tied up the delegates needed to be declared the nominee. So the only way that, there could be a change of candidate for the Democrats is for him to step down. And perhaps this incident might take attention away from the demands for Biden to step down to handling the immediate aftermath and the fallout of this crisis.
Mm-hmm. But do you feel, as a lot of people are feeling, that Donald Trump now has it in the bag?
I don't think you could say he has it in the bag, but he has the edge. He's the front runner. I mean, for a long time, he and Biden were neck and neck. though Trump was ahead in the 5 or 6 swing states, which are going to determine the outcome of the election. Biden was ahead in only one of those states. Trump was ahead in the rest. After the presidential debate, I think Biden's numbers have been falling. And so we have to wait and see whether he is able to either get back into the race in a more vigorous and coherent way, or whether he agrees to step down and there is another candidate, though the amount of time left now for any other candidate to actually have a successful campaign has become less. But there are still 3 months for the election. My sense is that, those who are committed Democrats, those who are committed Republicans are not going to change their views. What is at stake is the middle ground, the undecided voter, and both presidents will have to play for that.
All right. Well, we'll have to wait and see how things go, starting from what happens at the RNC that is getting underway today for the next 4 days. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Meera Shankar. Now, the government of India has released the first tranche of $2.5 million to the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees in the Near East as part of its annual contribution of $5 million for the year 2024-25. Over the years, in its endeavor to support the Palestinian refugees and their welfare, India has provided financial support to the tune of $35 million till 2023-24 for UN agencies' core programs and services including education, healthcare, relief and social services. The Make in India campaign of India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been given a major boost, with its impact now visible across industrial sectors of various Indian states. Shoes manufactured in Bihar's Hajipur are said to be worn by Russian soldiers, prized for their ability to endure temperatures as low as minus 40 degrees Celsius effortlessly. Competence Exports Private Limited, the company behind these highly favoured shoes of the Russian army, is presently in talks with Russia for a potential sale. External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. S. Jaishankar, will undertake an official visit to Mauritius from the 16th of this month to the 17th. The visit will mark one of the first bilateral engagements undertaken by him following his reappointment. We're taking a quick break at this point. After that, we'll get you updates on what's been happening in the markets. A bit of a contrast. In fact, European shares have declined on Monday following a series of disappointing corporate updates, adding to the apprehension among investors already unsettled by the assassination attempt against US presidential candidate Donald Trump. The pan-European stock 600 index dropped by 0.1%, ending a 3-day winning streak, while Burberry led the losses with its shares plunging 15.1%. Swatch Group fell 10.8% as the world's biggest watchmaker reported sharp drop in first half sales and earnings. And DD India's Alex Kadia joins us from Brussels for more on the market moves. Well, good evening to you, Alex. The moves in the European market seem to be markedly different from the US, where the Dow, S&P 500 and NASDAQ all opened up in the green, ranging from 0.34 to 0.48%. Even Bitcoin and other cryptos jumped, apart from Truth Social's holding company TMTG. Now, are some of the key corporate earnings in Europe that bad, that low?
Well, it's certainly two markets reacting very differently to the same set of circumstances. Let's look at those European markets. The DAX in Germany down 0.79%. The FTSE 100 in London down 0.86% in a day. That was led mostly by Burberry, who you mentioned had quite a huge drop of 16%. That brought the FTSE 100 down. The CAC 40, the CAC 40 in France, down 1.24%. So the market's really uncomfortable and unsure of their position after that assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Now, what led those dipping figures. Household goods leading the losses, down 2%, followed by utilities very shortly behind them at 1.9% drop. So bad first quarter earnings for Burberry, for Swatch, bringing those market numbers down, but also the market in Europe perceiving a Trump victory is not necessarily good news for the European futures and for the European stocks and shares, and therefore having a very different reaction and charting a different course to their US counterparts.
Yes, perhaps all those companies looking at sustainable development are not really upbeat about these prospects. Now, how much of how European stocks move is governed by what's happening with the Chinese economy as well, which is still dragging its feet these days?
Well, if you look at it this way, the European Union, the European economy is an exporting economy. It relies incredibly heavily on exporting goods and services around the world. The top two export destinations, of course, the United States and China. The assassination attempt of Donald Trump will have made the markets nervous about the United States, and those growth figures from China, 4.7% in the second quarter, lower than the expected 5.1%, means that the European Union's second biggest export destination is also struggling a little bit, and therefore the future for the markets in Europe look a little bit shaky, because both of those big export destinations have suddenly looked a little bit less certain. Now, we don't know yet if this is a minor correction, if this is something that will have the markets rally in a couple of days or a couple of weeks, but certainly it is a bit of a perfect storm when it comes to those two massive export destinations seeming a little wobbly, a little shaky for those European markets. We've seen those numbers from the FTSE, from the CAC 40, and from the DAX in Germany not looking good. We'll have to track the next couple of days to see how they react and whether or not they rally.
Yes, depends on what kind of positive vibe they get from other quarters. Right now, of course, nothing seems to be coming up on the horizon. Thanks a lot for the moment for joining us. The Asia-Pacific Ministerial Conference on Civil Aviation will be held amidst the region's growing and evolving travel needs. The two-day event is scheduled for September 11th and 12th at Bharat Mandapam in the national capital, with a focus on airport development and infrastructure to support the expanding airline industry. The conference aims to address the future and its challenges.
Equipment that is being used or that is being imported, all the parts that are being imported for the MRO facilities used to have multiple slabs. Finance Minister and Prime Minister also realizing that this is an important sector for the civil aviation to grow, they have reduced the IGST to now 5% for all the maintenance and repair overhaul facility equipment. So this is going to boost the MRO industry, and we are going to get a lot of job creation happening in this, and especially we are seeing in the next 3-4 years at least 1,000 crores worth of growth happening in this very sector.
And now to another first for India as it hosts the 46th session of the World Heritage Committee. Prior to that event, the 10-day event also plays host to the World Heritage Young Professionals Forum from the 14th to the 23rd of this month. 50 young professional minds from around the world, which includes 20 from India, deliberate upon finding out solutions for the world's heritage in the 21st century. More in this report.
Host to the 46th session of the World Heritage Committee in Delhi. As an integral part of it, including the Young Minds, India also hosts the World Heritage Young Professionals Forum 2024 under the theme of World Heritage in the 21st century.
Over the next week or so, they will engage in very fruitful and detailed discussions on aspects like sustainable management of heritage sites, climate change and its effect on heritage sites.
The 10-day forum has the right mix of deliberations, visits across World Heritage sites in the national capital and India.
I think this goes very well along with the Honorable Prime Minister's message of Vikas Bhi, Virasat Bhi, which means development along with preservation of our cultural heritage. And India is a cultural superpower.
The forum will enhance the expertise and capacities of young professionals in protecting, preserving and promoting our natural and cultural world heritage.
Nowadays we are facing challenges such as climate change, such as challenges affecting the site. So this is the field of expertise of those participants and what they are expecting to have their voices heard by the international community.
50 young professionals from around the world meet to gain in-depth knowledge of the global concepts of world heritage and sustainable development.
Climate change is real, and it is now, and as young people we advocate for more policies, more climate finance to go behind the work and the promises that countries make.
I'm happy to discuss various issues, challenges and opportunity related to World Heritage Convention and World Heritage Management.
I look forward to learning about how India is actually addressing World Heritage sites and what their heritage management plans are.
This presents a great opportunity for the young professionals to familiarize themselves with the local Indian heritage. At the end of the forum, the young professionals will present their declaration to the 46th session of the World Heritage Committee. Anil Thomas, DD India, New Delhi.
Quick sports updates now. Spain's national team returned to Madrid after clinching the Euro Cup 2024 in Germany. The team triumphed over England with a 2-1 victory on the 14th of July this year. Now, this victory marks Spain's 4th European Championship title. The team is scheduled to parade through Madrid and celebrate with thousands of soccer fans at Cibeles Square. And Argentinians took the obelisk monument in Buenos Aires to celebrate their 1-0 victory over Colombia in the Copa America final on Sunday. After Lautaro Martinez scored an extra-time winner in Miami, Spain added a 4th title to those won in 1964, 2008 and 2012 as only the 3rd team in the last 9 Euros to win the trophy without coming through a shootout at some point in the tournament. And that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And those on the go can also get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen right now to download the app. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.